I was a student here in Griffith College 10 years ago, 2006. I did the 18-month part-time higher diploma in journalism and media communications. I enjoyed it, met a lot of great people here. I was a passionate sports fan. I was desperate to get into sports broadcasting, and it was really the sports journalism aspect of the overall course that got me interested, got me in here in the first place, and it taught me an awful lot. It was great. I really enjoyed my time here, as short as it was. Well, I was kind of doing little bits and pieces in media before I came here. I was doing some part-time charity radio, community radio, that kind of stuff, and I was doing some work experience in News Talk at the time on Saturdays and Sundays. So I combined the full-time job with my time in News Talk and then this course. I think it was Tuesdays and Thursday nights, maybe Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. My memory is hazy, but it was about 3 days a week for a year and a half. And immediately after I left Griffith College, or soon enough afterwards, I got a phone call to go down and do an interview for a sports journalism position in a regional music radio station in the southeast, and that was kind of the break I was looking for, the break I was hoping for. And I would like to think that the fact that I had this on my CV, that I was a graduate of Griffith College and their media module, and the experience that I'd done in News Talk, that kind of came together just at the right time. You need a little bit of luck, you just have to be in a position then to maybe take the break when it does come back. A little bit of a bimbo when it comes to non-sports related topics. Sports has just been my passion since I can remember, to be honest. It's been on the green at the age of 3 or 4, kicking a ball around and pretending I was a sports commentator and hoping someday maybe I might get a break in radio or television. So as soon as I got stuck into the sports journalism module, it was Tim Toomey, who at the time I think was the sports editor, or certainly the football producer at Tanta Sports, now Air Sport. He had spent some time as the Today FM sports editor, and Tim kind of took me under his wing, and my first TV break came from Tim. I'm a huge amount to be grateful to Tim for, because if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure where I would have been. But combining that with my work in News Talk at the time, things kind of started to take off. But that was the 1 hour every week that I just could not wait to get into, and didn't want the hour to end either, because I was probably one of the few people in the class that was purely there to try and get a sports related qualification under my belt. So that hour with Tim was kind of, I needed to soak up all the info I possibly could from that hour every week. The best memory would be meeting guys like Tim and meeting some of the people in my class, because there were people from a huge range of backgrounds. Some people who had no real ambition to get into journalism, but they just wanted to kind of broaden their horizons. Some people really wanted to get into news or current affairs or photography or digital media, and there was me, obviously, which is a very narrow focus on the sports journalism side of things. But I'm still in touch with a few of the people that I met here, and one of the great memories of it was the Griff FM stint that we did, where we got to present our own sports show for 3 hours on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon over 2 weeks, and that just gave us a real insight on how to put running orders together and how to fill a show and how to deal with trying to get guests on board for no fee, which is something I often still have to try and do. So the hours that we spent in Griff FM were brilliant. That was a real grounding. I think the CDs are still knocking around somewhere from my first real radio stint, where I was on air for more than 5 minutes. I dread to listen to them now because I can't imagine how bad it sounds, but look, it was a chance to make some mistakes and get some learnings under our belt. It was brilliant. Be open to absolutely anything, from cleaning the toilet to making the coffee to going on air and presenting a radio show. The more indispensable you make yourself, the more people will be inclined to hold on to you. And the other major piece of advice I would have, and I'm not sure if it's this same as now as it was when I was getting into radio and television, but you're probably going to need to do a little bit of work experience for little or no money. But if you get that under your belt, you put yourself a few notches above somebody that is coming in with absolutely no experience at all. The experience combined with your educational qualification is absolutely invaluable. And the great thing about the world of sports journalism now is that it's so open compared to what it was 10 years ago. By the time, in and around the time I was getting into, the economy was going south, advertising and sponsorship revenues were plummeting. It was a real stagnant field to radio and TV at the time. There were no ins at all. I was very lucky to get in when I did. But nowadays you've got so many online websites, you've got all of these radio stations, TV, places like Air Sport are always looking for new up-and-coming commentators. There's never been a better time to get into sports journalism, particularly if you can write, if you can podcast, and if you're comfortable being on air. Now is the time to get involved. It's a great time to be young and coming into this industry. Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to be in a situation to describe Micheál Martin as a peer of mine. He'd probably feel a bit let down if I described him as one of my peers. He's definitely one of my heroes. When I was a kid, and I'll be mentioning it later, we'd be on the green and You'd be pretending you were Bill McLaren if you were carrying a rugby ball. It'd be Barry Davies if you were kicking a football. But if it was in any way Gaelic Games related, you were pretending you were Micheál O'Mahony, probably doing an awful attempt at trying to take his accent off his all Kerry brogue. But he's an institution. He's probably the greatest commentator himself. Micheál O'Hara, the greatest commentators this country's ever produced. I still meet him regularly. He still has the same passion and joy for sport that he had 50 years ago. And I remember the day he retired. The 2010 All-Ireland football final was his last All-Ireland. I was at that game, and I managed to get clips of the commentary afterwards when I went home, when they replayed it on Radio 1. And I mean, there's not an awful lot someone I can say about Micheál. I've been commentating for about 6 years. He commentated for 50 years. Everybody in the country knows who he is. Everybody that has any Irish blood on them outside of the country knows who Micheál was, because he brought the biggest games to homes all over the world, not just from the four corners of Ireland. I mean, emigration has been such a really big deal for Ireland over the last 100 years or so, and he was the guy that brought the games to the far-flung destinations across the world and reunited families and made sure they didn't miss out on the big days. And I'd love to be in a position someday to have that kind of an impact. Unlikely, I would have thought, but Micheál is just a bit of an institution, a bit of a legend. There's not an awful lot more you can say about him. It's a real honour to be introducing him later this afternoon.